Hey YouTube land, Andrews here doing another action figure review. Now today is for something pretty recent. This is the 2021 Jurassic World Legacy Collection Apatasaurus. Now, if you're not familiar with this dinosaur, this is the one that you see in the first Jurassic World movie. I think you still see them in the second one as well, in the follow-up Fallen Kingdom. But this is it's based on the one from the first movie. So, before I go on to the figure, I'm going to do a quick look at the box. Now, these have appeared in Smith's in Ireland at the moment. As far as I know, they're not available in the US currently. They should be available in the US, I think, sometime in May, I think it is. They're not scheduled for release. They could drop earlier than that, who knows. I do know that we did get I think we got the Brachiosaur before as well. It got released in the US, but this is the Apatasaurus. So, without further ado, before I proceed, I just need to say for FTC rules and COPA rules, these reviews are intended for collectors over the age of 13 plus. If you're under the age, please ask permission from parent or guardian. And quick look at the box. So, top of the box is the Jurassic World Legacy Collection. Now, on the back of the box, they did something interesting. It actually flips around. So, you get the artwork again on the box. You have an image of the dinosaur. You have dimensions for it. So, it's 105 plus centimeters, 41 plus inches in length. You have Apatasaurus down there. And then at the very bottom of the box, you have other figures available, which is the Raptor pack. I think this is an actual set, if I remember. They showcased like a full set of all the Raptors together in one go. And then on the side of the box, you have posable. And I think you have the same thing on the opposite side. This is the side I've opened. The dinosaur is not inside it. So they have more dimensions again. And then on the bottom of the box, you have assembly instructions. Just flip it the right way around. So the bottom of the box says assembly instructions. Let me just move my light so you can see it. So these are one-time assemblies. So my one is actually built, and I'll bring it in a minute to show it. But once they click in, they're not designed to pop back out. So there's two pieces that you get separate, which is the head and, well, the neck and the tail. And once they're plugged in, contains one dinosaur, assembly required, then a whole bunch of legalese stuff. So we'll move on to the dinosaur and we'll catch up from there. Okie dokie, let's on to the figure itself. Now, as you can see, I can barely fit this thing into my review station. In fact, this is where I normally do my reviews because I had to move because this thing is so big. So, as pointed out, if I just bring its head in, there we go. Oh, I don't think the head is even in frame. Let's move my camera a touch. This thing is massive. Now, I will do a bit of a showcase between this and the previous release Brachiosaur. So, there is a few moving parts on this. It's not completely static, so that is pretty cool. Now, the neck is on a pivot joint, so it can swing left and right. It's not, once it's plugged in, it's not intended to move, so there's no rotation on it. There is, however, moving this guy around is a bit of a beast of a thing to do. There is rotation in the head, so you got I think it's a ball joint. I'm not 100% sure, but there is rotation left and right. You can kind of angle it slightly. It does tend to click, so I'm not sure if it's adding stress to anything. There is a articulated mouth, so you can see its yummy jaw action. Onto the tail, it has the same articulation point as the neck, so there's just the left and right hinge on it. It does have one thing that the Brachiosaur doesn't have. There is a rotation on the tail. What's handy about it is, if you look at the coloring, the coloring stops just before it, so it doesn't really look too bad depending on which way you have it on the dinosaur, and I'm hoping you can see this on screen. And then the other articulation points, and it's just the same as the brachiosaur. You got forward and back on the legs, forward and back on the front legs, and it is a beast of a creature. You can see how the legs are attached, or the feet are attached. There is a slight seam line, so they are molded separate. And there is the dino thingy, the Dinofax app thing if you want to scan it, but I don't think it's been added to the app yet. It's so new. At least I haven't tried scanning my one to see what comes up when I try it. The last time I got one of the ones that were kind of not released yet and hadn't been on the app, it just kept scanning it and saying it wasn't found. So just to give you a sense of scale, here is good old Owen. Now I'm going to move the camera down so you can see him standing next to it. He barely comes up to the first knee, or the actual knee joint where the knee would be on the dinosaur. So it is fairly big. Let's bring in some of the other heavy hitters from the Jurassic World and Jurassic Park line, so you can see it in conjunction. Here we have the mosasaur. So you can see it's even bigger than the mosasaur in length, so it's longer than the mosasaur if you have it. Scale wise, like width wise and stuff like that, it's about the same. Like the body is about the same, although it's hard plastic as opposed to the squishy plastic that the mosasaur came in. Here it is next to the Capture and Devour, I think it's called, Indominus, or it's just the standard Indominus. I'm not sure if it's Capture and Devour, but you can see it. Indominus is pretty big. Now I do think the one that was in the movie that you see in the scene with Owen and Claire is a juvenile, because the head in the movie, Owen was able to grab the head, most of the head, with his two hands, but on this thing, if I just swing it around again and bring it into focus, or bring it into shot, if I just bring Owen on, you can see his hands are barely bigger than the head. On the other one, in the movie, you could see him holding the kind of, if I just turn the head, the whole head would have been about here. So I think either the one in the movie was a juvenile, or it's just the way they sculpted this one. But this thing is massive. It is meant to be in scale to the 3¼ inch figures, just so you know. So I am expecting that this is supposed to be an adult Apatosaurus as opposed to a juvenile. You can barely see it in the frame. I do apologize for that. It is such a massive creature, and I'm trying to bring in as many of the big heavy hitters. Here is old Rexy. This is the Legacy Chomping. I think it's a Chomping Rex. No, this is the Destructosaur version of her. Because if I open up her mouth, you can see there's a magnet inside, and she doesn't have the tongue that sticks up. But overall, it's the same sculpt and same design, so you can see that. So you can see how it scales to Rexy. Rexy is dwarfed by this thing. Quite literally dwarfed by this thing. And then the other big hitter before I bring in the pièce de résistance, as everyone wants to see the comparison of. And I hope this review doesn't go on too long for you. Here is the good old Spinosaur. This is the first version Spinosaur. Unfortunately, the battle damage one never was released over here. We only got this version. We're just straightening out the tail a bit. Much like with the Rexes and the Spinosaur, once the tail is in place, and as I said, the neck is in place, it is designed not to pop out. So there is the Spinosaur next to it. Spinosaur just about makes up the length of the body and a bit of the neck. So if I just angle down a touch, again, sorry about the background, it's a bit messy, but I have nowhere big enough to actually review this thing, and it's, if I did it outside, which probably would have been nicer if the weather was nice, but it's howling wind, so you wouldn't be able to hear anything. And then for the pièce de résistance, I'm going to switch around and bring this thing in. Body wise, they're about the same. Lengthwise, not even close. So I'm gonna have to bring it up. Yeah, place is a mess. Right here is the Brachiosaur and the Apatosaurus. You can see the Apatosaurus almost gets up to just the base of the neck on the Brachiosaur, but overall it is a much better. I much prefer the Apatasaur over the Brachiosaur. The Brachiosaur does have paint apps, but it doesn't seem to have as much paint apps as they went ahead with this. For the most part, the body on the Brachiosaur is this kind of beigey brown and does have paint apps coming down the neck, and whereas this guy has these kind of stripes, but it also has a two-tone neck, so you have like an extra color scheme coming in, whereas the Brachiosaur kind of had that, but it didn't have any kind of striping like some of the other dinosaurs. It was just kind of mostly a, looked like a dirt wash over the brown plastic. So there is that. And just for another scale comparison, sorry about the noise that keeps hitting off the spring for the old lamp that I used to use. I'm gonna have to bring this in a bit closer because you can barely see them. So there is Owen again with the Apatosaurus leg and the Brachiosaurus leg, and they are dwarfed by this thing. Do you have any other scale figures that I can bring in just off the bat? Let me just grab something there. I do have a kind of standard G.I. Joe 25th anniversary, well, it's the Rise of Cobra Mars officer figure just to hand. They're a slight bit taller than the 3¼ inch figures from Mattel. So just give you a, if I can get them to stand. Do I have a stand handy? Fortunately, I don't think so. And this is just on carpet, so you may not stand for me. If I can get them to stand, it would be a miracle. So I know these guys had kind of problems standing. That might work. So there you go. You can see him standing, again dwarfed by the size of the Apatosaurus and the Brachiosaurus. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick review of the Apatosaurus. It is massive. I'm not sure if you're stuck for space on a collector shelf. I'm not sure where you're going to put this thing, but it is so cool. It is really nicely sculpted. The paint apps are very nicely applied. I'm sure customizers will go even more into it and make it as kind of, you know, screen accurate as possible. I've seen people do amazing work with the Rexes and the Indominus and repainting stuff like that. So this is probably another thing that they can go to town on. The other thing I would say is just hold out. Don't, like, these aren't hitting shelves yet as the time of this recording for the US. It should be coming out soon, so try hold off from getting it from scalpers. There probably are already scalpers here in Europe selling the ones that are in Smith's for like triple the price, like what happened with the Spinosaurus, because that legacy Spinosaurus wasn't available really much in the US. So bide your time. It should be available in most places soon enough, and hopefully you enjoyed this review. So as I say in my reviews, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe to my channel, and cheers for watching. Thanks.